Hello and welcome. Hello. Welcome to jasonnewland.com. My name's Jason Newland and this is Let Me Bore You to Sleep. I haven't done one for a few days because I had a tooth extracted on Wednesday. It's now Sunday. And I'm not sure if it's a dry socket or it's I don't know what's going on, but I've been in incredible pain ever since. So what I've done is I've got an appointment on Monday, which is tomorrow, in the early afternoon, and hopefully it'll get sorted out by then. I might have to have antibiotics or something, which is fine. Please only listen when you can safely close your eyes. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about toothache the whole time. In fact, I've got a new term now: phantom tooth pain or phantom toothache, because there's no tooth there. Can't be a toothache if there's no tooth there. In fact, I remember explicitly seeing the tooth on the little tray as I left, thinking, well, I didn't actually think it, I said it, it's not a very big tooth. How could a little tooth like that be so hard to remove? I thought it was going to be like really big, but it wasn't. And the ironic thing is, I'll give you the story, but basically when I went there on Wednesday, no tooth or mouth pain at all. Felt fine, absolutely fine. Not emotionally, I was a bit too stressed and anxious going, but I didn't have any physical pain. In some ways, I was a little bit uplifted because I was collecting my new glasses before going there. At the same time, I was, not sure, what it was going to be like, because I've had a few teeth removed and it's not always simple. Anyway, the actual thing went through okay. I had 2 fillings. One filling just wouldn't stick, but eventually they got it in there. Put some super glue or something, and put some scaffolding in my mouth, I think. Years ago, blimey, I had a similar problem. I had one tooth needed filling. That was it. So they put a filling in, and then a filling fell out. I went back. Same tooth needed filling. I put the filling in, but they made a little bit of a bigger hole in order to fit the filling in. After about the 4th time going back, they had pretty much removed half of the other tooth to fill the filling in. So they chipped into the next tooth in order to keep the fillings sticking in. So eventually I lost 2 teeth when one was perfectly fine, until he started drilling into that in order to keep the other filling in, which I wasn't best pleased about. Anyway, on this occasion, I had a toothache a few weeks ago, a month ago or something. It wasn't even bad, it just kept coming and going, but this one, it felt a little bit more than it had done over the previous months. I went there, they said it was infected. It was an emergency appointment. They wouldn't do anything, they just x-rayed that one tooth, said it had a cavity, needed removing, but they couldn't do anything because it needed to get the infection gone first. So prescribed penicillin. I went away, took the penicillin, spent about 6 days on the toilet because the penicillin had a bit of a weird effect on me. This is a lovely start to a relaxing recording, isn't it? Anyway, once that had finished, I made an appointment at another dentist, which I found that would allow me to be on the NHS. They x-rayed my whole mouth and said, yeah, you do need that tooth removed. You also need 2 fillings as well. I said, okay. And I made an appointment for 2 weeks later. Went back, and that was this Wednesday just gone. And now I'm going back again on Monday. And I've done a little bit of research. From what I see is, in this situation, is clean up the wound a bit and then probably back on penicillin in order to kind of get rid of the infection. It's weird because I've not had infections in my a tooth that I've had out before. Never had. I've had like pain afterwards, but not for this long. But then I suppose if I leave it long enough, won't the pain just go away anyway? I don't know. So anyway, I'm going back there tomorrow. And, you know, my ear, my jaw, everything's kind of a bit painful. But it does feel less than what it was, if I'm honest. So I think the worst is over. Well, the worst must be over because I didn't sleep for the first 2 nights. Wednesday, Thursday night, didn't get any sleep. Friday night, partially got some sleep. Saturday night, last night, I literally got 7 hours. So I'm a big boy. I slept all the way through the night. So yeah, it's a case of just taking the painkillers, washing salty mouthwash and all that stuff, and not eating. Well, not eating on that side of the mouth. You know, just basically eating on the other side, which was a bit hard to start with because I had a filling on the other side. So I was trying to eat in the middle of my mouth, which is weird. So I was, for the first couple of days, I was just having breakfast cereal. In fact, I had 3 days of breakfast cereal and letting the cereal get really kind of, I know some people don't like the word, but moist. Letting the, you know, get soggy and moist. So it's almost like wet food, really, soft food. And now I started eating, I had my first meal, solid meal, I think Friday night. But that was just like some mashed potato and fish fingers and stuff, and some bread. And last night I had a pizza. And of course I was just eating on the right side of my mouth as well. But things I've got to eat in order to, you know, maybe it's not the right food, but I need to eat something in order to fight the infection. And a pizza on a Saturday night is my normal meal. It's my once a week treat while the boxing's on. So there. Although last night I was eating it, I got it about 7. It delivered. The pizza was delivered. And I was watching the boxing, and by the time, because I had it on delay, because I had to go back to the beginning. I think it started at like 6:30 or something. I don't know. By the time I got to 9:15, I was so tired I went to bed, and I watched the boxing this morning when I woke up. It was about 5:30. The thing is, I also hadn't taken my normal bipolar medication since Tuesday. And my friend had a go at me saying, "You've got to take that." I said, "But okay, I know I've got to take it, or I should take it. But the thing is, I don't like to mix medication up. So because I'm taking more pain medication than normal, I never take pain medication. If I take my bipolar medication, it's on its own. I never take anything else with it. Like when I used to drink alcohol, I'd never drink alcohol and take pain medication anywhere near that sort of period. I don't drink alcohol anymore, but so what I did last night is when I had my pizza, I didn't have any pain medication. I just had my normal medication, then waited a couple of hours and had the pain stuff. Or an hour and a half, something like that. And then I was like, wow, I'm so tired. And I was straining to keep my eyes open. And it was Dave Allen against Philip Hergovich. And I just couldn't. So I thought, you know what? There's no shame in going to bed, is there? I can watch it in the morning, providing I don't go online when I first wake up. Because I take a tablet for my acid reflux. God, I'm going to be one of those people that take so many tablets. I hope not. But I take one tablet in the morning, my acid reflux, and then I wait about half an hour to an hour before I eat. So normally I go online, check the stats, maybe make a podcast, whatever. Make a hypnosis recording, and then I'll get my breakfast and I'll watch if I'm going to catch up, I'll watch the boxing after that. But the chances are I'll see the results of the fight online. But this morning I thought, I don't have to go onto the computer and look at stats and do stuff online. I can just watch the boxing while I wait for the tablet to do its magic. That's what I did. And I won't say anything about the results, but yeah. So there's still a couple of fights. There's a couple of fights I didn't see from yesterday's fight. You know, that Bill. What the heck? Oh. I also haven't seen yet the fight, because there was a fight this morning, early hours of this morning in America anyway, a world title fight. But what's his name? He missed weight, so he's losing. I forget his name now. It's terrible, isn't it? But I don't want to put it in because it will come up. It will tell me who won. So not only has he got a last-minute replacement, I think, he's also didn't hit the weight, so he's going to lose. He's lost his world title on the scales. It's kind of, that's got to be a hard pill to swallow. You know, I know it happens to especially people at quite low weights sometimes, but you'd think they'd know before time, wouldn't you? Roughly. If they're hit, that'd be something every day. You'd be like checking the scales, surely. But you know, anyway, he. Did I tell you that my granddad fought at the Old Albert Hall? I think it's at Old Albert Hall when he was 10 years old as an amateur. I don't know why I said as an amateur, because obviously he's 10 years old, he wouldn't be professional, would he? But my granddad, yeah, he fought at the Albert Hall. 10 years old. I see pictures. My nan showed me pictures of him, of all his trophies. He won loads of trophies, not just as a kid, but so he was boxing probably from the age of 7 or something. And then he went to the army at the age of 16 for 12 years, and he was a fitness coach or fitness trainer in the army. But he was also amateur boxing during the army as well, so he fought for the army for, well, till the age of like 28, 29. I think he was like 20, 28 when he left, or 29 when he left. And he didn't box again after that. And he left the army, and I think he was out for about a year, maybe even less than a year, and then the Second World War started, and he was recalled like instantly, until 1945, when he got out. It's like, I think the reason he survived was the fitness. It might sound like an obvious thing to say, but I think because he was he was prisoner of war, so how he survived, but I don't know, but he did. The weird thing about it, he never spoke about it at all. So when my nan thought he was gone, she received a telegram 3 years before the end of the war saying that he was gone. But they'd lost him. They thought that he was gone, left the planet. So she was basically a widow, as far as she was concerned. As far as she knew, that was it. She'd lost my granddad. And she had a little baby, one baby, to look after. And then after the war finished, my nan got another telegram, or the police came round and told her that, actually it was the police, she had I think she had some members of the army come round, knock on her door and tell her, your husband's still alive. We found him in one of the camps. And he's in, he can't come home straight away because he has to have rehabilitation. I guess they also have to ask him questions and stuff, but he was malnutritioned and stuff. So they had to kind of build him up again before he could come back. Do you imagine if my nan had kind of met someone else? And because it could happen. 3 years is a long time, isn't it? I mean, loads of people during that period would get with, they'd kind of, or to go 6 years without anyone, even if you're married, is a long time, isn't it? Some people couldn't do it, could they? I'm not having a go at no one. I'm just saying 6 years is a long time to be without kind of love and that, I suppose. I'm okay, I've managed 55 years. Anyway, she found out he was alive. I don't know I think she was probably allowed to go and see him, visit him, when he was well enough. And then eventually they arranged for his release back into the public once he was out of the rehabilitation place. So when she knew when he was going to come home, she arranged a big street party. Because he was popular, my granddad. He was but I think that back in the days where everyone kind of knew each other in that area, the whole street knew each other. So they put on this big, wasn't a parade, but it was like some banners and like a street welcome to my granddad, like a welcome home Ted. That was what they called him. Got no idea why. No, his name was Edward, but they called him Ted. My uncle's name was Edward as well. They called him Eddie. So, although I think my nan used to call him Dad. I called him Granddad. That made it easier. There's a lot of different names, isn't it? Called Ted, Eddie, Edward, Granddad, Dad, Mr. Newland, Sergeant Newland. I don't know if he was a sergeant. I don't know what level he was. But anyway, do soldiers keep their rank? So when they leave the army and then they were brought back in for the war, do they still have the same rank as they did when they left the army? That's a mildly interesting question, maybe. But so my nan had all this thing. I bet she made loads of cakes and stuff, and the street, or I'm not saying the whole of London, maybe just a little part of the street, who knows, but some people were like waiting to greet him home, because most of the other people were already home that were coming home. And you know what he did? He came up on his own, probably got the train up from wherever. He saw all the hubbub in the street, and he crept in the back gate and went upstairs into the bedroom and went to sleep. because he couldn't face it. It's kind of understandable, I think. But he couldn't face. He just couldn't face because he hadn't been around people, and he hadn't. He wasn't that kind of person to start with, I don't think. Not showing off, but being the centre of attention. Maybe, I don't know. And then after that, never ever ever mentioned his time during the war at all. The whole time, from the age of, let's say, 35, 36, all the way up to the age of 80. Never mentioned nothing, never mentioned it at all. And then the last month of his life, he started talking about it. Started talking to my dad, his kids. Never talked to them about anything, and he started just telling them stuff and opening up. So yeah, that's. And the weird thing about it is, my granddad never said a single word hardly to me. I think we had two conversations. One was about politics, because he was very quite political, but at the same time, I wasn't going to argue with him, because he had an air about him that was quite, not scary, but it wasn't someone to kind of argue with, I don't think. So this little, it wasn't an argument, we had a little conversation about politics once. It wasn't long, didn't last long. And then we had a conversation about boxing, and that was the run up to Mike Tyson fighting, Frank Bruno fighting Mike Tyson in 1989, I think. Unless it was Bruno fighting Witherspoon in 86. I think it was Bruno against Tyson. And my granddad, we were talking about that. And I can't remember quite what he said, if I'm honest. I don't remember the conversation. I know it was in the kitchen. And there was another time I asked him about Boxing Day. And he said, no, it's got nothing to do with boxing, the sport. And he told me what Boxing Day was, what it meant, why it was called Boxing Day. And then another time, he took me into his shed. I was visiting. To be fair, I used to visit my nan. My granddad was there, but I visited my nan. She knew it. I knew it. My granddad knew it. Because if I visited, I'd knock on the door. My granddad said, come in. And he'd say, your nan's in the kitchen. Your nan's in the garden. It wouldn't be... He wasn't rude. He knew I wasn't there for him. Because he didn't really have any kind of conversations with me. And my nan was the opposite. She was very chatty, very friendly. I'd say a bit like me, really. But once my granddad said, follow me, or come with me. And I thought, oh no, I'm in trouble. And he led me into the garden shed. And this was in 1987. He gave me a bonsai tree, because he had a shed and he was really into gardening. Loved his gardening, and also making stuff with wood. He was a very talented wood carpenter, really. But I think he was self-taught with that. I might be wrong. I was wrong. I had been wrong before. 1994 I was wrong. It was April 4th, 1994. Since then I've pretty much been right my whole life. So he took me into this shed and he said, it was a house welcoming gift, because I was about to move into, or I just moved into the flat above the chip shop. And he gave me a bonsai tree. And it's really weird because I didn't connect, first of all, how important it was that he gave me that bonsai tree, because it was something that he loved. People that develop and grow bonsai trees, they do it out of love and patience, and because it's not just a flower that's grown in a garden. It's it takes a fair bit of effort. Not that flowers don't take effort. I just realised it might be people that grow flowers thinking, wait a minute, I spent ages planting them seeds. Sorry. And I didn't see the significance of actually how kind he was being, and how he was kind of reaching out to me, I guess, as his grandchild rather. And I said thank you, but it didn't. It might have had meaning to me at the time, but I don't remember if it did. And it didn't last long. But one of the connections I didn't really get at the time is, first of all, I was the previous few years to that, I was mad on karate. And of course the Karate Kid was around the same time as I was doing karate. So there was the bonsai tree, Mr. Miyagi, and it had that kind of significance. Maybe that's what my granddad gave it to me for, because he might have seen the film as well. Yeah, it was weird. And I didn't really... But then I said to my dad recently, why didn't Grandad teach us boxing? Because three brothers, it was me, 2 years older one, and a 4-year-older one. The 2-year-old one, they were both way bigger than me. Like bigger, from a kid they looked probably older than they were. I looked younger than I was, physically. So when I was, let's say 11, and my other brother was 13, he was literally head and shoulders above me. But then my other brother, who was 2 years older than him, was head and shoulders above him. So my one that was just a bit older than me, he was always quite thick set, so he was very strong. He won everything well, not everything, but during sports day at school, he'd just win all the races. He was one of those kids that just was super athletic and faster than everyone else, and yeah. I didn't go to high school with him, but I know that he kept coming home with all these trophies and stuff. And he also, in junior school, when I was with him, he's always winning everything. My oldest brother, who's like, I think he's probably like 6'4", 6'5", he was brilliant at swimming. But he didn't get into it, but he was really good swimmer. But we didn't really live anywhere where swimming was a thing. I mean, I think even when he was at school, we didn't even have a swimming pool in the town. We had a few swimming pools that you could go to, but you have to travel to a different town to go there. Yeah, to go to the next town, because the one in our town didn't come up till... I must have been about 16, 15. And he was already long left school by then. and he was cleverer than me. Both my older brothers were cleverer. They both did exams. I mean, my oldest brother did A-levels. My other brother did O-levels. So I think he left school at 16. After doing O-levels, my oldest brother went to school till he was 18, I think, and got A-levels. I left school at 15, and I got nothing. I got nout. No exam results. I did do some exams after I left school. I went back, but I didn't get. I got U for everything. It stands for unclassified. No, What did I get? There was a letter that stood for something. Basically, it just meant no mark, like 0. Pointless. Why did you turn up? Kind of. Yeah. So I didn't get any qualifications at school at all. My proudest moment, that was. At the time. I did alright though, really, if you think about it, because I did then go on to get a degree in counselling. So I do, I do have a degree. But that's only because I lied about my exam results. And because it's such a long time ago, they couldn't check. It's true. All the exam results from like the 80s, gone, destroyed. Nothing was kept on the computer at my school. So I could just go and say, yeah, I got these, got A-levels, got everything. And no one could check. They do tests. I had to do a test and everything, but I passed that okay. Great, but I didn't have any physical documents, which probably would have been handy. Wow. Can you imagine how many people, millions of people out there that got certificates saying A-levels in mathematics, English literature. They couldn't even give me a diploma, just one little letter saying useless. Or just something, just to say, just something I could like show people. I could show off. I could take it to job interviews. Like, I don't know, DAF. Dumb as, you know what I mean? Just like, show that to them. Yep. Because I don't think it would have made any difference to a lot of the jobs that I got anyway. Here's a weird one. I was speaking to my neighbour, and he remembered the £27.30 youth training, YTS youth training scheme money, and £35 for the second year, because he did the same as me, except he did horticulture. That's just, when I think of horticulture, that's just manure, isn't it? I don't know, something like that. And horses. So he did that. And it was so weird that he remembered the amount, because I've never known anyone that remembered that amount. So he must be pretty much the same age as me. And it's weird just to hear someone say it out loud, because I remember stuff like that. But I've never spoken to anyone in person that also does until the other day. And you might be wondering, where's the question? Oh, excuse me, a bit of gas. Where's the questions for Q&A Friday? I am making my way there. Don't worry. Just when I fall in love. Oh, let's have a look. When Where's the questions, baby? Where's the questions, baby? Ooh. Just having a look. What have we got here? Any messages? Anything? No, 10 hours. By the way, thank you for your messages, your kind comments on my Facebook group, Jason Newland's Boring Group, regarding my phantom tooth pain. Right, let's have a look at the questions. Q&A Friday. Where are you? I've got a few. No. 8th of May. Oh, I didn't tag it. Why didn't I tag it? 15th of May. Right, I've got 3 questions. So, again, apologies for being so late. So, the first question. I think he's still asleep. He needs his full 12 hours. I mean, he normally gets at least 11, so we're coming up to the 11th. I mean, it's 8 o'clock now, so in 14 minutes' time, it's 8:01. 14 minutes' time, it will be 11 hours he's been in bed. Diana asks me, what 5 famous, infamous, dead or alive people would you invite to a dinner party? I think at this stage of my life, I'd like to invite people. When you say famous or infamous, infamous isn't. I'm just trying to think. I'd quite like some to speak to some of my relatives, or to speak to some friends that are gone. So I know this is probably not quite the answering the question, but I know infamous doesn't mean non-famous, but I'm going to add a non-famous and I'm going to answer it that way. Sorry, I am. I'm going to answer your question the wrong way, but apologies. If I was going to choose 5 people to have a dinner with, it'd be my nan and granddad, my friend Luke, so what's that, 3? Alec, wait a minute, now granddad. Just thinking. Got 2 more left, haven't I? So I've got 3. Andre, the original Andre, and my baby Andre, my little boy Andre, my little ferret. Yeah, so I'd have those 5 people come back. The problem is not come back for a dinner party. I'm going to say I'm not looking at. No, I don't want Andre back because I couldn't let him go. So that'd be too painful. So it'd be painful for all of them. That's the problem, isn't it? It's much easier, I think, to choose dead famous people that I don't know. Because if it was people I do know and I really care about, like my nan or Andre the second, my little ferret, or my granddad. I mean, I knew that I wasn't close to him, but I couldn't say goodbye. I couldn't say goodbye to them again. So I'll scratch that. I'll go back to the original question. What 5 famous people? I'm going to go for alive. Less smelly, I imagine. No, I'm going to go for dead, sorry. Bruce Lee. Milton Erickson, who is like the king of... He was like the Bruce Lee of hypnosis. So Bruce Lee, Milton Erickson. Charles Bukowski. I don't think this would be a very unusual dinner party, but Charles Bukowski. So that's 3. I guess I'm just trying to think of my heroes. My heroes. Michael Jackson. That's 4. And Whitney Houston. So Bruce Lee, Milton Erickson, Charles Bukowski, Michael Jackson, and Whitney Houston. Now, I've not got one comedian there. I think I probably picked the wrong people for a dinner party. Because Charles Bukowski was an absolute... I imagine he'd be hard work. I don't think the other people would particularly like him, because if he was drunk in that. I imagine Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston would get on very well. Milton H. Erickson would just be watching them, not knowing who any of them are, because he passed away in 1980. I guess he'd know who Michael Jackson was. He'd know who Bruce Lee was as well, wouldn't he? Well, it's a chance he might know who Charles Bukowski is. Is it possible? So yeah. The thing is, if you go for all singers or all comedians or all poets or all writers or all painters, or the conversation could actually not get boring. It could get competitive, but it could go over my head. Because if I had okay, I'm going to have Michelangelo, and I'm going to have all these famous painters, or I'm going to have Hermaphrodite and all the other famous pianists or composers, I'm probably not going to know what they're talking about. So, at least with the comedians, if I chose a bunch of comedians, then that would be very much something that I can relate to a degree. But then I'd be choosing comedians that were way off my level of kind of hugely accomplished comedians. So if I chose comedians, let's say I just stick to comedians, I would choose Lenny Bruce, I would choose Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Sam Kinison, and Bill Hicks. Yeah, that's who I would choose. All of them have gone. And they all had something in common as well. They were very controversial. They kind of broke the way through for like newer comedians. They broke barriers. Without Lenny Bruce, there wouldn't be a Richard Pryor, and without a Richard Pryor, you could pretty much say there definitely wouldn't be an Eddie Murphy. Without Eddie Murphy, it's the same as you go along. Like, there wouldn't be any loads and loads of comedians have come along after Eddie Murphy that have almost not copied him, but have been influenced by him. But without Richard Pryor, there wouldn't have been an Eddie Murphy, not the one that we know anyway. He possibly would have been a very different kind of comedian. I mean, he might not have even been a comedian, he might have just gone on to be a film star, because he clearly had so much talent. You know, how could he not have been successful? But then you got Richard Pryor. He just broke through the rules like no other comedian's ever done. Actually, I mean, Lenny Bruce kept getting arrested, so he probably was more controversial in the day, in his day, because that was the 50s and 60s. Richard Pryor was more the 70s, when he was kind of breaking barriers. Bill Hicks, again, he was the 90s, well, late 80s, early 90s, and he was even doing TV shows, and he'd do like those like guest shows, chat shows, and they wouldn't even show it because of how controversial what he was talking about was. Great comedian. Ironically, more successful in the UK than in America. He was a huge star here. You might not know that if you listen to this from America. Bill Hicks, although he was known in America and he had a following, he was filling out theatres. He was filling out here. He'd come here and he'd sell out everywhere. In the early 90s, he was on TV here and everything. He was really, really popular. Sold loads of videos, DVDs, had albums out, which I'm sure he had the same ones out in America as well. But very, very popular here. And that was around the same time as Denis Leary, and Bill Hicks was more popular. In fact, I'd say Bill Hicks was the most popular American comedian in the UK in the early 90s. Even though you had people like Seinfeld, that show wasn't popular in the UK because it was on so late at night. It's hard to believe, isn't it? One of the most popular TV shows in the history of the world, next to Friends and I don't know, but Cheers maybe, but you got Seinfeld, one of the most popular sitcoms, and they showed it in the UK so late that hardly anybody even knew it existed. I came over it by accident in about 1990, and I just had the TV on about 11 o'clock at night or something, and I saw this TV show, like, what the heck's this? Because it's so different from anything that's ever been produced in my country. It's very different. But it's also very different from any other sitcom I think I've ever seen. I can't think of another sitcom that was like that. No, I don't think so. I don't really think there is anything. Anyway, so Seinfeld wasn't like super famous in this country. I try to think what American comedians were really big here. The obvious one is, what's his name? Eddie Murphy. Huge star. Biggest American star in the UK was Eddie Murphy. Or any others that came along were no bigger than Eddie Murphy. Of course, then you had people coming along, Arnold and all that, but Eddie Murphy was still just a huge star. But as far as comedy goes, the George Carlin's another one that I mentioned. He was never like hugely famous in the UK. He's more kind of a case of, if you know, you know. It's almost like he's a dirty secret. At the same time, one of the greatest comedians that ever lived, I would say. Phenomenal. And he did it for decades and decades and decades. Even in his 70s, he was brilliant. He had loads and loads of HBO specials, albums. I mean, he had albums in the 70s that I used to listen to. One was called Class Clown, and so he went through these periods. So he started off being really clean cut, wearing a suit in the 50s or the 60s, and he basically was... He was on TV, and he was popular. He kind of fitted in with a lot of the other comedians that were on TV. So he was in black and white, and he was like suited and nice, and he'd tell nice jokes and stuff. And then he went away for a while, and he came back, and this is during the hippie period of the 60s, I think, or the late 60s, and he came back in the early 70s with long hair and dressed kind of hippie-ish, I guess, and he was talking about real things, and very much I don't want to say weed orientated, but he just talked about anything, and it was very, very funny. Like almost, it was great, really good comedy, I think. And then as he got older, he didn't completely change his thing, but he went from being really chilled out when he had his long hair. Yeah, hey man. Ooh. And he's like really quite chilled out and calm. In his older life, and I don't know when that started, he seemed to become angrier and angrier. But it became funny. It was still funny, just in a different way. And you had this old man in his 50s or 60s or 70s literally ranting on about stuff. But it was intelligent, and it was really funny. And he did not care what anyone thought. And there's something quite, I found quite refreshing about that, because he wasn't being brave anymore. It's almost like he was just being himself. And he said he's just an observer. And he loves, I want to do his material, but but apparently, because I've seen him in interviews, and he's kind of the same in the interviews as he is on stage. But apparently that wasn't really what he was like off stage, because I guess he was just trying to sell his shows or whatever. Because apparently off stage he was absolutely adorable. He's really lovely. He wasn't the angry man that he came across as on stage. So that's interesting to see. I mean, I remember years ago when I was in the comedy club, there was a comedian called I forget his name. He's the pub landlord, and it was so obvious that he was going to go on and be famous. But this time he wasn't, but he was like headlining everywhere and on the comedy circuit, and so he'd go on stage with a pint of lager, and his opening line would say something, pint of lager for them, for the men, and some wine for the ladies, and it was just very funny. It would kind of be a Mickey take of people that are very nationalistic, let's say, so he basically just made fun of people like that by pretending to be like that. And it's kind of ironic in a way that you'd see people that were actually agreeing with him, laughing and agreeing with him, and people that knew he was just... So you had people that agreed with him laughing and people that disagreed with him laughing. And I think he was aiming his comedy at people that disagreed with what he was doing and saying, laughing. So he kind of won. He won all audiences. And I remember I went... He was about to go on stage and he was getting a lager. I don't know if I got it for him, but he said he wanted non-alcoholic. I said non-alcoholic. And he looked at me and said, "It's an act." He didn't shout, but he did it like just with a big smile. "It's an act." Do you think I'm drinking out? If every time I go on stage I'm drinking alcohol, I wouldn't be able to drive between gigs. I was like, okay. So, it's an act. It's funny. So I think that's why I'd like to maybe have those comedians, but the problem is I don't do very well without... I'm a one-on-one person. So what I'll probably find is they'll all talk amongst themselves and I'll just be... Or they'll talk at me. So I might have more than one person trying to talk with me at the same time, and I can't do that. I'm unable to do that. I still remember years ago a counselling meeting where it was like like a training day. When I was a counsellor, we had to have these training days, personal development training day things, and we broke into groups to discuss this subject we were talking about, and I had probably 6 people in my group, and they literally all talked at the same time and can hold that conversation. Like they were all talking at the same time. And it was too much for me just to listen. And I thought, how can they be talking over each other and no one's complaining? Everyone's able to keep up with the conversation, and almost like, for me it was... It was a little bit like the old internet connection, like whatever it is. It was just noise. It was just noise. It was. Penguins fighting over a Kit Kat. It was just like really. But they seemed to be able to understand each other. And I can't one-on-one. And I've been in positions where I've been with my friend, I'd be in a room and he'd be talking to me and someone else would be talking to me. And they were both almost oblivious that each other were talking to me. Like, can't you see that you're both... I can't... It's like I was looking at one person, looking at the other person. Yeah, no, yeah, that's right, yeah. Like... 2 different conversations, can't do it. I think on one occasion I stood, I said, "Stop!" I can only talk to one person at a time. Didn't go down well, but I can't, it's true, I can't speak to a bunch of people all at the same time unless everyone listens. And also, if you're in a group, if you're at a table, I've sat at tables before. Sometimes I notice that other people are having more interesting conversations than what I'm having. And I want to listen to their conversation, but the person next to me is talking to me. But I want to listen to the other people's conversation. But you can't just turn and say, excuse me, can you stop talking because I'm trying to earwig on the other people. They're talking about buses. Ooh, you know, I love hearing about buses. I don't know why I said that, because I've got very little interest in buses. I did spoil a birthday. Well, not a birthday. It was a gathering. I didn't mean to, but it was like a gathering of people all invited to come to this dinner, and it's in the evening, and I didn't know that an announcement was going to be made, and until basically someone said, she said, well, I'm going to be making an announcement in a minute when my husband gets back from the toilet. And I just shouted out, what, are you pregnant? And she said, yeah. And nobody knew. It was, you know, she just got a bunch of close friends. I don't know why I was there, but I'm not even sure if her husband knew, or whether it's a husband or a boyfriend. I think it was like a surprise kind of announcement. Maybe he did know, I don't know. But anyway, no one else did until I mentioned it. And then she went like, well, how do you know? What am I showing? Am I fat? I said, no more than normal. Again, wrong thing to say. I said, look, I don't even look at you. I don't see you as a woman. Again, another wrong thing to say. What I was trying to express is like I wasn't looking at her in that way because she had a boyfriend or husband and she was a friend, and I didn't, you know, I wasn't being inappropriate. But I guess there's different ways to express that, isn't there? To say I don't see you as a woman is not the right way to say it. But I was trying to get myself out of that hole. You know? It's just... But anyway, yeah, I never saw them again. They didn't invite me to any more dinners. Strange that, I don't know why. So, Diana, I've not done a very good job. By the way, these little things, mistakes, faux pas, long time ago. I'm a lot more adult now. I am. I don't know if I am. I just haven't been in an environment of eating at a table with a bunch of people for many, many years. Diana, I've not really answered the question very well, but I hope I've answered it a bit. Shanthony asks, how did you meet Vinny's mum? Oh yes, this is an interesting one. Because, well, it's not interesting, but anyway, I did not know who Vinny's mum was. Apparently I'd met her before in the park when I was walking Andre, which was a year and a half before I even got Vinny. So I'd known her because she's lived here 6 years. I've had Vinny for 3 years. So, yeah, I had no idea who she was. Never seen her before, as far as I knew. She was friends with my friend downstairs. He never mentioned her either. So he mentioned her dog. He did come to me one day and said, Logie, his dog, who was not friendly to us other dogs, didn't like other dogs. He said Logie met this tiny little puppy, little Jack Russell, and Logie loved him. They get on so well when they were playing in the garden, and I was like, that's nice. It was, I wasn't particularly interested because it was interesting. Like, wow, I can't believe he likes other dogs. But I was very surprised, that. But at the same time, okay, and I just didn't really take much notice of it. I didn't know that they were friends. They were close friends, his mum and my friend. So they were kind of, good, I don't know, kind of good friends. Like, they were sort of, he used to go around the garden with the dog and stuff. He didn't really mention it to me. If he did, I just didn't hear him. I was probably too busy thinking about myself. And probably. And then it was the December 3 years ago, because he turned 4 in February, so he was 10 months old. So he was born in the February. December, my friend downstairs knocked on my door, and I should have been at my dad's that day, but I didn't go because I had a bit of a cough. I didn't want to give my dad a cough, and it was Christmas. It was the build up to Christmas. It was like probably just the first weekend of December. So I cancelled going there, and so I shouldn't have even been here. So I got a knock on the door Saturday afternoon. I answered the door. It was my friend Luke. And I could see, obviously, Logie was there as well. But this thing ran through my legs. This tiny little thing ran through. I'm like, what the heck? I've actually thought for a second he'd got another ferret. Because it was so quick. Well, it's obviously a lot bigger than the ferret, but it was just so quick. I didn't know what the heck it was. I couldn't actually see it because it was moving so quick. And he was laughing. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on? What have you brought? Have you brought a rat in? And anyway, he come in, this little thing running around, absolutely hectic, and playing with Logie and everything. But Vinny was jumping on my bed. Everything was like exploring the whole place, which is what he does whenever he goes in somewhere new. He explores everywhere, and it was that was the Saturday. So I basically, my friend said to me, Luke said, need to find a home for Vinny. I said, okay. He said, this is a dog that Logie gets on with. He said, I think his main thing was, can you believe they get on? I said, no. I mean, literally, Logie did not like other dogs. It was worse than that, but he really didn't get on with other dogs. And they were like best pals. And the size difference was ridiculous. But they were playing, they were happy together, like brothers, really. And so Luke sat down and he said, yeah, I've got to find a home for Vinny. I said, why is that? He said, I said, where's he from? He says, a woman over there. And I told you that, the little dog, didn't I? That Logie likes. I said, oh, yeah. I said, that's that dog. I said, oh, okay. And he kept saying he got to find a home because this is what he told me. It wasn't true, but this is what he told me. If she can't find a home, she's going to have him put down. So I told her that I'm taking him. But then he said, but I also told her, I told her that you'd take him. And I want to buy him for you. It was a bit all over the place, to be honest. But apparently she did tell me that the reason why she had to get rid of him, because she had grandchildren, and he bit her on the face because he was trying to get to a chicken sandwich, and he didn't mean to, but he bit her on the face, scratched her. But she was so scared that he'd do the same to the grandkids, and it could be a lot worse, couldn't it? Because they were like so little. And she didn't know how good he was going to be with kids. Yes, he's really good with kids. But anyway, she didn't say that she was going to have him put down. He just added that to make it more, not exciting, but to push me more. Apparently he said to her, "Oh, Jason will have him." Before he even brought him here, he said, "Jason will have him." So he comes here and says, "I'll buy him for you." So I ended up having him. And that's when I met his mum. To start with, I wasn't particularly keen on it, because I thought, you're going to have him put down because he bit you on the face. I mean, there was no mark, but there was no intention of that at all. And she explained that to me. And I'm like, okay, got you. It makes sense. And you've got little kids, you've got to be very careful, haven't you? And so I met her. She came up. I also met her stepson, who was up here, and her son. So they were all up here. And the weird thing is, Vinny actually, he was going from person to person, and he actually sat right next to me and just stayed with me, which was a bit strange. I thought, okay. But then he kept going up to his mum. He absolutely adores his mum. But he seemed to... That's a long time ago, but I think he seemed to quite like me a little bit. And so that's the first time I saw her. I saw her a couple of times. I kept saying to her, "Are you sure you want to give him up?" Because she'd known him since he was a baby. So basically what happened is, Vinny was born. He was born at her she was born at her daughter's house. And they were going to breed. They bred two Jack Russells together in order to make some dogs to sell. That was basically what it was. But only one was born. Instead of having 6 or 7 puppies, one dog, which is Vinny. Which apparently is quite unusual to have just one puppy, but mind you, he was greedy. He probably ate all the others inside. So he was born. His mum saw him right from birth. So Vinny had this big connection with her right from the start. And then when he was old enough, he went to a new home, which was this, I don't know about elderly lady, but I think she was disabled, and she couldn't keep up with him. She couldn't, if she was unwell, or she wasn't able to do what she needed to do with him. So she gave him back to my friend's daughter again, or to her husband, which is Vinny's mum's daughter. So he stayed there for a while, and then Vinny's mum said, "Well, I'll look after him for a while until you find another home," I think, or she decided to take him on full time. I'm not sure. Anyway, he came and lived with her for about 3 months. 4 months. I'm not sure exactly, because he was 10 months when I got him. And then he came and lived here in the December. And then the next week I fell down the stairs and fractured my back in 2 places. And I was taking him out 3 times a day, bending over and picking up poo. I don't know how I did it. I don't know, honestly. The first month, can you imagine? Like, the first month, I could hardly walk, I could hardly sit, I could hardly do anything. Yet I was still managing to do everything I needed to do. And I'd never picked up poo before. Okay, it's not true, but, you know, not like for my own dog. That sounded weird, didn't it? Like, I don't mean I walk around picking up poo randomly when there's no one around. I'm talking about, like, never had my own dog before. Yeah. So, basically, after that, I hardly saw his mum. She wasn't my friend. I didn't really know her from anyone, really. I met her a couple of times and that was it. And then I think a couple of times she knocked on my door telling me that she was worried about Luke. And I kind of, you know, that was about it, really. Then when Luke left, when Luke passed away, we got close because we were supporting, kind of helped to support each other through it, really. So she was friends with him, I was friends with him, and I had a couple of other friends locally that were friends of him. So, you know, kind of, as you do, you kind of just help each other out, I suppose. Talking about, it's nice, you need someone to talk to about the person who knew him. And I guess we kind of bonded through that, and also the fact that Finny absolutely adores her. Honestly, he is a mummy's boy. So we just, yeah, started spending time together during that year, the year, because basically I had Vinny on the December. The following November was when Luke left. And then the following year, I became quite close with his mum, as friends, but we're quite close and helped each other out. And yeah, she had a lot of loss as well with her family. She lost both her parents during that time, and so we kind of just helped each other through that period. And then, yeah, we've just been friends ever since, really. So that's it. He loves seeing her. Absolutely loves seeing her. Like, on a level that I wish he had that for me. Now, I'm the boring parent. She's the exciting parent. She's the weekend, let's go to the cinema, you know what I mean? She's the fun one. I'm the strict one. You go, make sure you go to bed at the right time. Make sure you've got a school uniform on. Make sure you brush your teeth. Eat your beans. Wipe your bum. All that stuff. And she's the fun one. Let's go to McDonald's. Let's go. Not literally, but you know, she's the one that, let's go and find a slide to slide down. Let's go to Disney World. She's the Disney World parent. I'm the go to sleep parent. Yeah. So I'm the boring one. She's the exciting one. So when he sees her, he's so happy. I've never seen him be happy to see me, I don't think. Maybe a little bit, but not like that. I mean, when I go to take him out to see her, he screams. Not screams. Like there's a certain noise he makes. I've never heard him make that noise about me, ever. He almost loses control through excitement of going to see her. He does not have that with me. I don't know if he's ever had that with me. that complete, like he loses control. Honestly, I'm surprised he hasn't weed himself, because it's that kind of level of like excitement. I can't even get the lead on him sometimes. He's just flopping all over the floor completely. His legs are gone. He's so excited to go and see her. Doesn't have that with me. But then I'm probably not the most exciting person on the planet, am I? So maybe that's what it is. This is his calm, relaxed place. That's where he goes to have fun, running around in the garden, and he just absolutely adores her, like so much. So he got so much love for her. It's amazing. If I could just get 10% of it, it'd be nice from him. But hey, he tolerates me, I think. So yeah, that's how I met her, and we're still friends, and we help each other out, and I try and help her out and stuff if I can. And she looks after Vinny, especially recently since I've been going up to town and getting parts of my body removed and getting my glasses and all that stuff. She's been looking after Vinny for those times, and I try and help out in other ways as well. So yeah, that's the story of Vinny's mum. He loves her. He absolutely loves her. And sometimes I do think he should just be with her, not with me, because he'd be happier. But then she tells me he's not like that when I'm not there. So as soon as I leave, he just goes to sleep, or goes onto the bed and goes to sleep. He doesn't act all excited as soon as I'm gone. And sometimes he'll wait at the door, waiting for me to come back. So I don't know. I don't know if she's saying that just to make me feel better, But she said, yeah, he's not like that. As soon as you've gone, he hasn't got the. As soon as I'm gone, apparently he's not excitable anymore. But then when I'm there, he goes between the two of us. So like, he'll sit on her lap, then he'll come and sit on my lap. He doesn't even sit on my lap when I'm here, at home with him. They're the same as if she's sitting over there, she comes here, he'll sit on her lap, he'll go and give her attention, and he'll come home and give me attention, cuddle up to me, which he doesn't do so much when I'm on my own. So it's, yeah, I don't know. Go figure. He's a dog. I don't know what's going on with him. So Sarah, last question. What's your go-to dinner? Okay, if you had to live in another country, where would you pick? That's 2 questions. What's your go-to dinner? Probably going to have to go pizza, to be honest. Although, I think my favourite dinner, if it was like, yeah, if you said to me right now, what if you could have anything, if you like one of your tastiest, what you really enjoy having, here is what I would answer. It'd be in a cafe, and it would be an omelette, chips or fries, and beans. I would have said a can of Coke in the past. Maybe I need to start rethinking that with my teeth. A cup of tea instead, maybe, and 2 slices of white bread with butter, and a tomato ketchup, and a newspaper to look at. That would be my go-to dinner. I do like a nice British fry up as well, but it's not good for my stomach. It's my acid reflux. It just gives me heartburn, so there's no point. There's no point doing that. So yeah, probably omelette, chips and beans, 2 slices of bread, but very specific, isn't it? I don't have any vinegar or salt on the chips or on any of the food. And that would be it. That would be my dinner. and I'd be full up, and I'd be, you know what, I'm thinking, yeah, that'd be nice. I think Vinny's woken up. I'm hearing some banging. There's a lot of banging around this building at the moment, whether it's in the loft or in the walls. But it sounds like it's a big, I don't know. Who knows? It's an old building. So that's my go-to dinner. I do like a nice roast dinner, but I don't want it all on the plate. I like to just choose bits. You know, I quite like a mixture of everything. Even cabbage. I'll even put a bit of cabbage on there. I do like a. I'm not so bothered about McDonald's these days, to be honest. I'm not really. I think I quite like a burger. Just like a normal burger that you just cook with some cheese in a bun with some tomato ketchup. I'd probably enjoy that more than a McDonald's burger. If you had to live in another country, where would you pick? If I had to move out right now, I would go to Thailand. If I had the finances to support myself. If I had to move. The problem is I got Vinny, so I couldn't just move. Yeah, I'd go to Thailand. Because just at least being around that brightness, the because it's so gloomy in this country for most of the year. It's very gloomy, very cloudy, very downcast, very. It's a very negative country generally here, and people just seem a little bit more upbeat from what I experienced in Thailand, more friendlier. Just, probably a lot of tourists. They're out, they're happy. That's why they're friendly, because they're, and the people that are there are earning money because they've got tourists giving them money. So maybe that's why people are happy. But it just seems like a bit of more of a friendly place. Smells a lot better as well. I heard the banging, like a bit scratching on the wall, and this little footsteps, and as I saw Vinny, it made me jump. Hello, darling. I didn't realise it was him. I'm thinking, what the heck's that noise? It was little Vinny. I went, wow! It made me jump, mate. I made you jump though, didn't I? Did I make you jump? Are you hungry for din-dins? You are. You're hungry. You're looking over there, aren't you? So sorry about that. I would, I think Thailand. But I'd like to visit lots of places. But if I had to leave, providing I could take Vinny with me, Thailand. I'd go there today. Providing I had the money, I would leave. If I had enough money just to last me forever, and I could take my little boy with me, yeah, go Thailand. I mean, I say go to that. I'd quite like a little bit of time just to say goodbye to a few people, but so I go tomorrow then. I have to make a few phone calls. Dad, see ya. But I'd also like to. I'd need enough money in order to invite people to come and see me if they wanted to. Because it is a lot. It's quite expensive to get there. It's a long travel. So I'd need to be able to pay for my dad and that to come and visit me if he wanted to. But yeah, I think Thailand. That's where I'd go. But the more I think about the question, the more other countries are coming up. Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll go for Thailand, but it'll change. I'll answer the same question differently in about an hour. I mean, I can't say America or Canada or Australia because I've not been to those places. If I had to go somewhere, I think it's nice to have already been to the place before you go there. It kind of makes sense to me, but in some ways it also makes sense to go somewhere where most people are speaking English. So America or Australia or Canada or an English kind of speaking country might be easier for me, generally. But I don't think I'm really cut out for learning new languages. I learn a few words and stuff, but it's just laziness, really. Well, this intro's got me thinking. So that, I do believe, is the end of this here recording. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry it's a little bit late. I managed to get through it. I might have to give my mouth a little bit of a wash out with some salt. So, and water. So thank you for listening. Remember to be kind to yourself, because you do deserve to be happy. And be gentle with yourself. You deserve to feel safe. Lots of love. Bye.